Giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Boston Scientific. We're streaming live on YouTube and Facebook, and of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker. Still, boom! I had to give an extra tick for my guy Deuce today. Coming up, we pick up our rating and draft series talking about Deuce Vaughn, or as LA Knight would say, Chris Deuce Vaughn Jr., son of our scouting guys. We'll talk about how he fits this Cowboys team for the now and the future. And I had the most fun putting together this one, not just because of his little guy, but man, his tape was extremely fun to watch. Then in the roundup, our undrafted free agent spotlight looks to make things a bit uncomfortable in that defensive back room, so we'll get to that as well. What's good, Bomb Squad? How y'all doing?
Bomb Squad!
I already know how some of y'all doing it here. My goodness, we couldn't even get the show started and y'all wake up hating. Jesus, come on, man. Come on. What is not to like about this big here? What you need, all you need here, some coffee. You know, take a little sip. Refocus, and you'll be all right. You'll be all right. It's a 6th-round pick. What the hell are we doing here? But we'll get into the value. We'll get into the year one impact, and we will get into the long-term outlook of our guy, Deuce Vaughn. But first, before we do that, real quick, did y'all see that the Cowboys, the NFL, did drop the international schedule for a teaser for tomorrow? Tomorrow, they'll be dropping the entire schedule for all teams. But here's the international schedule. They got 5 international games this year. 3 of them are in London, 2 are in Germany. And the one that stood out to me the most is how they robbed Kansas City of a home game. They robbed Kansas City and their fans and Tyreek Hill of a return to Kansas City where he won the Super Bowl and was if they have a ring of honor type of player in KC. Thought that was weird. Thought maybe they should keep that one in Kansas City. Nonetheless, that's the game that they have over there. The other games, one in Germany is the Colts versus the Patriots, and then in London, the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's the London team. They might as well move them to London as is. But the Jaguars get 2 games in London. I wonder how Jaguar fans, or I wouldn't even say the ownership, because the ownership, they're getting paid regardless. They don't care. But the fans or the players feel about having to travel to London twice. Actually, if I'm looking at this correct here, they'll just stay in London. That's smart. Okay, so good job of the NFL keeping them in London for that week. I highly doubt they're going to be flying back over to the States and flying back over. So they'll stay over there in London to face the Falcons and the Bills. And then our parent company, A to Z Sports Nashville, the Tennessee Titans, will be in London facing off against the Baltimore Ravens. I wonder if they're going to send one of their guys in London. That'd be cool. I do know that they have a guy that travels around with them anyway, so maybe he'll be there during that week. But those are your international games. And I, for one, am thankful that the Cowboys are not playing international. I know those that cover the team and follow them and travel with them, they might enjoy that and whatnot, but I like keeping the home field advantage situation. Although, would they really take a home game away from Jerry Jones? You think Jerry Jones is going to stand for that? Probably not. So, if I'm not mistaken, the last time that they went to London versus the Jaguars in 2014, that was an away game. That was a home game for Jacksonville, not for Dallas. All-time memorable game. Dez Bryant with his amazing catch and runs after the against the Jaguars, so I remember that vividly. But Cowboys haven't been back since, and I ain't tripping. So there you have it. Your international games for 2023. Tomorrow, Professor O, or whomever is in there, what time is the actual NFL schedule release? I would imagine this is going to be in the evening for TV. But I know that social media teams drop their schedule release and they do something fun around it. Last year, the Cowboys dropped the ball on that one. I mean, I know a lot of people were, oh, it's funny, hee hee ha ha. But how could you have Stephen A. Smith be a part of that whole situation? Nonetheless, Stephen A. Smith was a part of the schedule release drop last year. We'll see what the Cowboys do this year. The Chargers, I think, won. The Panthers had a cool one too. Dallas is always a little bit behind in that essence, but we'll see. What time tomorrow? 8 o'clock Eastern is when the TV side of things will be dropping the schedule. So we'll talk about that on Monday. I won't be here Friday, but we'll talk about that Monday and continue to recap what happens over the weekend for rookie minicamp. Speaking of which, we'll talk about 2 rookies coming up. The first one is an undrafted free agent in the roundup.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It is time for.
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Hey, yo. We got a bulldog, ladies and gentlemen. Today's undrafted free agent spotlight goes to cornerback Miles Brooks out of LA Tech by way of Stephen F. Austin. 6 foot, 201 pounds. He's a senior, true senior, not one of these super seniors or super seniors. 4 years in school. Had a bit of a wild ride getting committed. He committed to a number of different schools, then decommitted, mutually parted ways. Ended up settling for Stephen F. Austin. Not Stone Cold F. Austin, but Stephen F. Austin. And he finally broke out in his final year at Stephen F. Austin. But in total, while he was there, he had 6 picks, 23 pass breakups. Then he entered the transfer portal after his 3rd season. Ended up falling in LA Tech's area, Louisiana Tech. And he stood out there in his lone season. He was 2nd team all conference, had 3 interceptions, 12 pass breakups. A physical corner who I think the Cowboys or whoever ends up with him should allow to play into that, especially against those bigger physical wide receivers. He showed good ball protection or production at LA Tech. When they allowed him to be physical, he did that well. He was sticky. Okoye Media, shout out to the big homie. He dropped a great breakdown on Miles Brooks if you want to get even more detailed intel from a film standpoint. So make sure to go check out that breakdown from our guy, Okoye Media. Law did one as well. So they dropped the film on Miles Brooks. Here is who he'll be competing against, though. Eric Scott Jr., the 6th round pick they traded up for. Nashawn Wright, Kelvin Joseph, possibly CJ Goodwin. So that deep part of that cornerback room, the competition is going to be fierce. Nobody is really locked, in my opinion, including former 2nd round picks. Nobody's locked. They're going to have to fight for that roster spot. Last year, going into the season, week 1, they carried 6 true cornerbacks. 7 cornerbacks if you include CJ Goodwin, who everybody seems to want to kick off the roster, but he always makes it because he's just that damn good against special teams. But if we go by those numbers, as it stands right now, we're talking about 2, maybe 3 spots between 4 or 5 or 6 players if you count some of the super down roster guys at the cornerback room. Also, if you want to count guys like Izzy as a corner, that makes it even tough for that room. right? So you could be looking at 2 spots between 4 or 5 players. It's going to be fierce. Here's what Dane Brugler had on Brooks. He said, overall, Brooks doesn't have high-level athletic traits and needs to become more buttoned up for the pro game, but his anticipation and ball skills should translate well. He projects best as a press man corner at the next level. Kind of love hearing that because the Cowboys ran into a lot of trouble. They weren't able to deal with man stuff opposite of Trayvon Diggs last year. Now, I am 100% not expecting Miles Brooks to just come up in here and be a part of the rotation or anything like that. Any of these cornerback 5-6 type of dudes are going to be developmental guys that you hope can contribute, or not hope, should be contributing on special teams. So when you're talking about a Brooks, and you're talking about Eric Scott, you're talking about guys that are developmental guys. So keep that in mind when we're discussing these players. If they happen to have to get on field, that means injuries happen. And maybe one of these guys can end up being a Deron Bland, a guy who had to get thrown out there in the fire because injury struck. So that's today's undrafted free agent spotlight. 1, Miles Brooks. The guru, not Danny Savage, who calls himself the guru, but the guru here on YouTube says, how many corners will we carry, 6 or 7? So in week 1 of 2022, the Cowboys carried 7 total. And I got to use this because CJ Goodwin is not a corner. I mean, he flat out comes out and says, I'm not a cornerback. I make my living being an elite special teams player. So they carry 6 true corners, 7 in total. So we're talking about, again, 2, maybe 3 spots. Because your top 4 are pretty much locked down, in my opinion. Right? You got Diggs, and we'll do a state of the unit sometime during the dead period. But you got Diggs, you got Stephon Gilmore, Deron Bland, J. Lou. Those are your 4 cornerbacks that'll probably play the most this season, unless injury happens. But then you got Izzy, kind of that wild card guy. Throw him around. So if you throw that in there, you're talking about maybe 1 or 2 positions that are up for battle. But those are your 4 corners. Izzy could make it 5. And if they only carry 6 or 7, Nahshon Wright, Kelvin Joseph, Eric Scott, they traded up for Miles Brooks. It's going to be tough for a guy like a Miles Brooks to elevate himself. When I say tough, I mean to be a part of a rotation. So we're really playing for kind of that last 1 or 2 spots. Now, Wright and Joseph, they haven't really done much in the league to make it tough for those guys. So if they come out and show out that they can be a factor, in camp and be a factor on special teams, hey, maybe they knock one of those dudes off the roster. If I had to guess, May 10th, 2023, Nahshon Wright or Kelvin Joseph, one of those guys won't be on this roster. We're going into year 3. I just keep thinking about the reaction that they have for Eric Scott Jr. He could come out here and not be great, but the reaction that they had, they gave up a 2024 5th round pick, man. I don't know if they're willing to just get rid of 2 picks, meaning the 5th last year and cutting him as a 6th round pick. So I hate to say he's a lock, but much like I was saying about Deron Bland last year, it's kind of hard to not see him as a lock for the fact that he was a pick. Now Bland went out and proved it. So it's just going to be really hard for these guys to make this roster as a contributor. One of the best ways to do it, and we'll talk about that in a little bit with Deuce Vaughn, is via special teams. Can one of these dudes just show out in special teams enough to allow their traits to develop? That could be another one. Nahshon can't get right. Come on, man. That's deep. All right, let's turn the page because we got our guy, Brian, calling in here at the top of the hour. But I want to at least get to the initial part of our RTD series, Rating the Draft, and we're talking about Deuce Vaughn. One of the funnest rating drafts I've ever done because his film is extremely fun to watch. Under Will McClay, the Cowboys drafted 4 running backs prior to Deuce Vaughn. 4 running backs on day 3. 2016, it was Darius Jackson. 2018, Bo Scarborough. 2019, Mike Weber and Tony Pollard. And they only really hit, obviously, on Tony Pollard. And if you want to be honest, I think that's because Tony Pollard was the most skilled and the most versatile. When you're talking about guys that late, you've got to be, if you're going to be a big back like a Bo Scarborough, you damn sure better be a hammer, right? You damn sure better be a hammer. But TP had that skill set, that versatility, very similar to Deuce. Now, he don't got the size of a TP, but he's a versatile type of back, and I think that's going to serve him well throughout his career in the NFL. So let's go ahead and turn that page and talk about one Deuce Vaughn. Out of Kansas State, if you're not aware, 5'5", little guy, 170. He goes about 176, but I think he'll play around 180. I mean, his stature allows him to put on a little bit more weight and not be oddly built. He'll be rocked up a bit. He ran a 4.56, I think it was, at his pro day, and elected to only run it once. He said he was feeling under the weather and he didn't want to tire himself out with other things that he had to do. But those backs that we talked about, none of them are as accomplished as Deuce Vaughn. And obviously none of them are as small as Deuce Vaughn. And that's one of the first things that gets brought up is his size. And Deuce talked about, his size. He said, I've been this size my entire career. You find ways to make it advantageous for you. And I think you see that when you watch him play. He is very much comfortable with his size and knowing how to make it work for him. You've been hearing this for decades when it comes to smaller backs. And when I say smaller backs, even 5'9", a lot of analysts, a lot of coaches say, and a lot of players say, hey man, it's really hard to find that dude. Because you're dealing with linemen who go 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". And once they stand up and they get to moving around, he's hard to find. He goes 5'5". By the time you find him, he's out to shoot. He also said, I'm going to be somebody that would not leave that facility until I feel like I've gotten better. So, look, when you're that size and you get this far and you're that productive, the work ethic is not in question. And from all accounts, his father, who we've become familiar with this season, you listen to people talk about his father, talk about where Deuce Vaughn is. You look at some of these documentaries or videos that have put out, man, the guy puts in the work, clearly has to put in the work. And I think he'll continue to put in that work, which is why I think Deuce will be around in the league for quite some time. He was a multi-sport athlete in high school. He played football, obviously, basketball, and he ran track. He doesn't have track speed. He doesn't have that long speed, but he's got ridiculous quickness. That was on display at Kansas State. Over 3,600 rush yards, 34 total rushing touchdowns, 116 receptions. That is huge. That's more receptions than Jahmyr Gibbs, by the way, who was looked at as the best receiving back in the draft, and he had 9 receiving touchdowns. Here's what Will McClay had to say about Deuce Vaughn. Quote, guys that can win in space and create their own space and do explosive things, Deuce has done that ever since he's been in high school and probably before that. So getting him and adding him as a weapon was a huge deal. And that's exactly what he is to me. He's a weapon. And when you watch him, man, he has the best highlights, man, in general, but just down in, down out, he's still exciting when he doesn't touch the ball, especially out in routes because he's breaking dudes' ankles. I think he has impressive patience married to his vision. Kansas State, they run this kind of full house type of look where they got the 2 tight ends in the back or a fullback, and they'll motion one and they'll slingshot him back around. And essentially they'll have 2 lead blockers, right? But sometimes those blockers get stacked and it's a bit of a mess. I watched Deuce Vaughn, I think it was against Missouri, deal with that mess because he was patient. And he married that patience with his visions, and he pretty much always netted a positive game because that play was never really clean ever. They ran it about 4 times in that game, and I don't think one time was it clean. He has an elite ability to make the first guy miss, maybe the best in the draft. And what he lacks, I think, in long speed, he makes up for in spades with quickness and athleticism within the play. There's a company called Real Analytics. They came up with this kind of new innovative way to score data in game called the IGA score, known as the in-game athleticism. And Deuce Vaughn was the highest scoring player for the Cowboys, and he was the 3rd highest among all running backs in the draft. By the way, he was 4 spots ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs, behind only Bijan Robinson and Tank Bigsby. So he's going to be a nightmare from an athletic standpoint and a matchup standpoint in these choice routes that I talked about earlier. I don't care if he's in the backfield. I don't care if he's lined up in the slot. You're probably going to have to put a cornerback on this dude. And it'll still be a problem for certain cornerbacks. But if it's a linebacker, you can forget about it, man. He's going to either leave the linebackers guessing, so they're going to have to commit prior to the play, or he's just going to flat out leave them in the dust if they're flat-footed. So I don't think separation is going to be a problem for Deuce Vaughn in this league. I just don't. So Deuce Vaughn, man, he's proved to me that he's worthy of a shot in this league. He was worthy of being drafted despite his stature. His production, where you got him, most people did not have Deuce Vaughn falling all the way down to the 6th round. So when you combine what he did in college, where you got him, his skill set that he could potentially bring to this team, it was only right that I rate his value 5 stars here. And I have down there workhorse production, elite role. Meaning, when you get a guy who 3,600 yards, 40 plus touchdowns, 116 receptions, the versatility, the production, the ability to be a workhorse at that size in college, you get that in the 6th round? I mean, that's tremendous value. But here's why I give it a 5, not just because of what he did, but because he's not going to be asked to be a workhorse back in the NFL. He's going to be asked to be a role player. A role which I think he has the ability to become elite in. Maybe not right away. We'll see how that goes. But we've seen guys that he's been compared to the same damn school be able to carve out that elite role in their careers. So I got 5 stars here, Cowboys Nation. How many stars would you give one Deuce Vaughn for his value? And yes, I was talking about Darren Sproles, but Darren Sproles, Deion Lewis, this is the Danny Woodheads of there. And there's more. There's many. He brought up actually Danny Woodhead as well when it came to that type of role. So Deuce Vaughn, value for me, 5 stars. Cowboys, Chris, 5. Gregory, 5. 5. So over it. 5 from Quan. Kelvin said, man, we giving it 6. Okay. Mark, 4. Glenn, 4. And we'll get to that in a second, the Guru. 5. I think a lot of people are going to be living in 4 to 5 here. A lot of people are going to be living in 4 to 5, and that's about right to me. I don't know that you can find too many guys that late in the draft with that kind of production, that skill set. The only damn reason he's really sitting there in the 6th round is because he's 5'5". That's it. Now, we'll talk about his impact here in a second, but I want to get Brian here. He hasn't called in quite yet. Let me reach out to my guy here. In the meantime, in between time, let's see what our guy Joe Sandberg got to say about Deuce Vaughn. What's good, Joe?
We're talking about Deuce Vaughn today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're talking about Deuce Vaughn.
if anybody hasn't watched the tape, go watch the Bama film right now. You see things that not too many running backs have done against that Bama team. Made it look silly. All-American. From?
Yeah, man. Look, Deuce Vaughn against Power 5 schools was one of the most productive running backs against said schools, so including Bama. So you're absolutely right about that.
Running backs, you would somewhat get like a normal draft. You would get like a Elijah Holyfield type of situation, a guy who's not fast, but that's not the case with this player.
Yeah. He doesn't possess the long speed. Like he'll get hawked down sometimes, but man, he has elite quickness. He has elite straight line speed. And hell, depending on the play and the time, and if the defense is tired, he'll still take it to the grave. Don't get it twisted. So yeah. Hey, Joe, appreciate you calling in. But let me get to my guy B. All right. Good morning, Mr. B, aka Brian Pope of the Cochran Firm. How you doing?
Doing good, Will. Doing good. It's a rainy morning in Big D. Took me a couple extra minutes being safe on the road, getting down here and getting positioned for the big call.
Hey, that's all that matters is that you're safe, right? We're definitely here in Dallas. When it comes to rain or driving, period, folks down here, they can't drive. So glad that you're safe. But how you feeling about this draft? I don't think we talked yet about the entirety of the draft.
I think the last time we talked was after our first
round pick, yep.
And before the rest of the round. I think that they did everything they needed to do. They filled needs. I like. I don't know. I like the depth that they're creating for this team. And I think they got some players that may have been higher on their board at positions that they were pretty happy with. So I give them, I'll give them a solid A for the draft.
Wow, a lot of people were pretty upset about the draft, but I think they came away with what they wanted to come away with. I just think it was in a matter of different order than a lot of folks wanted, but. The reason why I'm not tripping about the draft because they got a guy that I thought we needed here in regards to a nose tackle, and then they added some role players to an off season that was already, I thought, an A. So yeah, I feel good about it.
Well, I like the linebacker from Texas, Overshawn. I think he's going to be a steal.
Yeah, we talked about Demo the other day. He's what I call a wild card for the Cowboys because he's got he's a talented dude, man. A determined dude. He has the length, the speed, the athleticism. He has it all. He just doesn't fit in a box. So it's going to be a matter of how they decide to utilize him.
That's okay. That's a player that Dan Quinn can figure out a good role for. He's got a good motor, and I think that we'll see. We'll be surprised. I think he's going to be an impact player before we would expect it.
Indeed, he will be. Who would be your favorite pick in this draft, B?
Well, it's funny because you would say, well, it's convenient. We've been talking about him. But, yeah, the more I think about Deuce Vaughn, the more I think that one day we'll look back and go, hard to believe he was a sixth-rounder. I just think listening to you, and I've done my homework a little bit on him, and he's just one of those guys that has it as far as an explosive, not just running back, but also, threat to in the receiver in the slot. I don't know. I mean, to me, he's the most interesting pick, and I'm going to be really following him closely.
Yeah, I was talking about this with Pat Walker. I think that Mozzie is going to have a ridiculous impact year one because he's going to play a ton. But I think Deuce is a sneaky, answer to who's going to have the biggest impact year one because he's going to be able to do three things for you. And it's just a matter of the opportunity. And I feel confident. This is crazy to say this given the past history with Kellen Moore here. But I feel confident that they will find a role for him and they will utilize him in that role. I couldn't really say that previously because they drafted a guy like Tony Pollard in 2019, and I was pulling my hair out trying to get them to use him right now. Like when I say right now, I mean as soon as he was picked, you saw that he had the skill set, but they just didn't get him integrated really till what, 2021? So I don't want them to wait that long for Deuce, and I honestly don't think they will.
Well, I hope not. I mean, it is. One other guy that came to mind who was an explosive, smaller, compact running back like Deuce was Maurice Jones-Drew. You remember him?
What?
From Jacksonville?
Yeah, I used to call him the human bowling ball. That dude was just he didn't make he didn't make any sense how he was built, but yeah.
Yeah, it'll be and we'll see how Pollard comes off his injury. But I do feel like Deuce provides a little bit of insurance right there.
Yeah, if you had now I know we have Malik, but if you had a Deuce type of character last year when Pollard went out, I don't think much really changes from getting that kind of explosive athlete, that quick twitch athlete, being able to do things in the passing game. I think when he went down last year, you saw we had no answer, or they refused to look at a different answer in the backfield because Zeke wasn't giving you that.
No, definitely not. He was empty. Tank was empty.
Did you see that they say Zeke is, I guess, rumored to have interest with Tampa, and this is the one to me that's crazy. I don't know how much I believe this, but the Chargers. Like, wait a minute.
Chargers.
Do we think that Zeke is going to go back to Kellen Moore? I guess if he needs to get the bread, if he needs to get a contract, he'll go play for Kellen Moore. But I don't know about that one.
Yeah, no, I don't see him. I don't see him fitting into that offense at all.
Hey, look, sometimes though these veterans they just need a contract.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, look, it could be beggars or choosers. He may have no choice but to go to a place like that.
Indeed, B. Hey, well, if you got a choice to seek legal advice, please let them know of the one and only choice that they should be using here down in the DFW area, the Cochran Firm.
Well, Larry Taylor, my partner, and I are running the national law firm for Johnny Cochran. Been doing it since 2005 here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We got offices here in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston. We represent people who, on days like this, when you lay down a little bit of slickness on the pavement, you're going to get a lot of car wrecks. We're here for helping people who get in accidents caused by others, whether it's a truck wreck, a motorcycle accident, just a regular car wreck, drunk driving accidents, workplace injuries. We're here to help. We've been providing solid help to people who need to deal with insurance companies who are trying to take advantage of them. I've been doing it over 30 years here, and between me and Larry, we got this covered.
Because what? Cochran cares,
Cochran
y'all.
cares.
My guy, Mr. Brian Pope. Appreciate you calling in for our weekly talk about the Cowboys, B.
Always enjoy it, Will. Have a good week, and talk to you next week, and maybe we'll talk a little bit of schedule. That's going to be exciting.
Oh, yeah. Schedule drops tomorrow. We'll be talking about that. And the rookies. The rookies get going, I believe. Yeah. They're coming in the building tomorrow, and they start this weekend. So we got a lot to talk about next week.
Sounds good. Take care.
Yep, appreciate you, man. That is Brian, one half of the Cochran Firm. Amazing staff over there. Amazing facility. Again, Cochran Cares, guys. So if you need any type of legal advice, legal help, they are there for you. You can call into the show 351-999-3787. Talking about Deuce Vaughn today, rating the draft. I just did the value for Deuce Vaughn, gave it 5 stars. But as we turn now to his year one impact, I'm going to give that 4 stars. Still very high. I think Deuce is going to be involved in that satellite back role. Shouts out to Bill Parcells. Now, that does not rule him out and getting actual normal running back carries because he, despite his size, had the most carries between the tackles in college football last season. So this is we just talked about it in the first segment. This is a workhorse back coming into the league. Doesn't mean he's going to be a workhorse back in the NFL. I think he will be a satellite type of back because he's a space player, one of the best space players in college football. His quickness, his vision, it makes him a nightmare out there in space. But I think he could be in contention for a return role. That's why I have returner question mark, because we got to see it. You know, when you're a workhorse guy like that in college, you're not going to tell you or ask you to return as well. And I know right now it's Kevontae Turpin's spot, but Deuce understands, you know, this is a quick way to get on the field. And his mentor, Darren Sproles, one of the greatest players to come out of Kansas State football in their history, he actually gave that advice to Deuce Vaughn. He told him that's the biggest way to make an impact early on. But I'll let Deuce, you listen to him talk about what Darren Sproles relayed to him.
The biggest thing that he told me was to be yourself and catch punts. He was like, it's going to be the easiest and most fastest way onto the football field because not a lot of guys do it. Not a lot of guys are good at it. It's one way to put yourself in space and be able to showcase what you can do on an offense is to catch punts. And it's probably one of the biggest tips of advice for myself because for the past 3 months I've been catching punts almost every single day that I can, and now I'm starting to get comfortable with it. So now by the time we get to rookie minicamp and get into the summer, I'm hopefully as comfortable as need be to be able to catch it clean every single time, and that's just another way to get onto the football field early.
Tell you what, if he gets comfortable catching these punts or returning these punts, look out. Now, I'm not quite ready to stamp him as a returner yet because we got to see it, but I don't even know if it's comparable in regards to vision with him and Turpin. Turpin has a long speed. He has that breakaway ability. He hasn't done it yet, but he has all of that. Maybe year 2, he'll be better with it. But when it comes to open field vision, this guy, when it comes to open field and making you miss, this guy is one of the best coming out of college. So if he gets that down pat, look out. Well, what about offense, guys? That's what I really want. What about offense? Mike McCarthy was asked about his potential role on offense day 3 after the presser or after the draft during the day 3 presser. You know, ways to get him involved, the challenges dealing with his size when it comes to pass protection. Here's Mike McCarthy on Deuce Vaughn.
Jerry and I were talking about this earlier. I think clearly, Deuce can play the normal flow of our offense first and second down. I think to state the obvious, as far as the protection component, we got to, work together there. But there's some very distinct situational thoughts and concepts that I have in mind already. Randall Cobb-ish type things I've done in the past. So, yeah, we'll definitely have, opportunities for him to take advantage of his productivity. I mean, he's a dynamic player.
Randall Cobb-ish. From the night that, or the day, whatever it was, I heard him say that. I just couldn't get it out of my head, man. I couldn't get it out of my head. So I went back. I looked. I said, let me go see exactly how he used Randall Cobb, specifically early in his career, because Cobb still wasn't. He had a really good year too, but he wasn't that Randall Cobb just quite yet. He still was in a room full of a ton of receivers, a ton of weapons, and they had to find different ways to get him involved. Plus, he was kind of that utility guy as well coming out of college. So I went back and I took a look at a game where they had Randall Cobb lined up in the backfield. Also, obviously, in the slot as well. Sidebar, by the way. This season, this was the 2012 year. That Packer team had Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, Randall Cobb, James Jones, and Jermichael Finley as pass-catching weapons. Jesus. Like, I don't ever want to hear that quarterback didn't have weapons. But anyway. So I tracked this game against the 49ers, by the way, one of the best defenses in the league at the time. And you just saw how they used Randall Cobb, specifically out the backfield. At the top, they were using him here in a 3x2 angle route / Texas route, depending on what you want to call it, versus the blitz. So if you're getting a Deuce Vaughn involved in the flat a bunch, this is where you use your leverage and your tendencies against this linebacker. Boom. He cuts it back inside, likely for a big play. Here was a first down in this game. Right next to that, you see them use 11 personnel, and they did a swing pass screen to Randall Cobb. And if you notice where he's lined up, he's not really that close to the quarterback in Aaron Rodgers because he's not getting handoffs here. He's trying to get leverage and space created from a pass catching standpoint. But you see them utilize him with a swing. You see him utilize him with the angle routes. And then down below, you see them in a 1x3 stack, which can cause a lot of congestion. He can get lost in the sauce because he's so small. Or a 2x3 in the 11 personnel. So in this specific game, Randall Cobb was used in the backfield 13 times. He caught, I think, something like 8 receptions, or he had like 90. He had a really good game in this game, and a good amount of his catches came out the backfield. In fact, he had an entire series where he was in the backfield and he received the ball 3 straight times. So when he talks about really Randall Cobb-ish things, it bugged me. I wanted to go back and see exactly what he meant because Randall Cobb is a receiver, but coming into the league, he was kind of that utility type guy, former quarterback, ran a whole lot, threw the ball. I'm not saying that, Deuce is going to be throwing a rock, but I think you'll see Deuce lined up with a Tony Pollard. You'll see Deuce lined up with a bunch of receivers or tight ends. He's that kind of player where you can just utilize him in many different ways. And I think the best way is obviously as a satellite back in space, getting the ball to him right now. But don't get it twisted. He can run. I don't want people to think this is Lance Dunbar. Right? Remember Lance Dunbar? Really good utility player, meaning really good receiving back. Not a guy you wanted to hand the ball off too much. I ain't saying Deuce Vaughn needs 20 carries. I'm not saying that. But I do think you can really hand the ball off to this guy a handful of times throughout the game and affect the defense, the DBs, the linebackers when it comes to the play action. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want Deuce Vaughn to come in and you're like, all right, this is clearly a pass play. So now you're tipping off the defense. You're showing your hand. Nah, I think Deuce can run this rock a little bit. Flat out. So year 1 impact. I gave it a 4 stars because that's not the one right there. That's not who we want. I gave it a 4 stars because I just think he's going to be a guy that'll be utilized as a satellite back right now. And I also think he has potential to be a returner. Cowboys Nation, what would you give his year 1 impact? 3 stars. Yeah, Randall Cobb's definitely bigger. So, but that's what your coach said. That's what your coach said. You know what I'm saying? What your coach said. 4 stars, 5 stars if he returns punts. That's kind of why I gave it 4, because if he's a returner, that bumps it up even more. But I flat out think he's going to be involved this year in general. Yeah, Joe, his elusiveness is off the chain. Probably some of the best in this, not even some of the best, maybe the best. Bijan crazy with it too, but his quickness is wild. Jay sticking to 4, 3.5 for Greg, 5 for Kelvin, 3 for Professor O. Looks like we're in the middle of 3 to 4. Peasy says, is he going to get more work than Malik got? Well, Malik does, or he doesn't have to contend with Ezekiel Elliott. Malik Davis had to deal with TP and Zeke. In reality, there is no Zeke on this team. There is no politics really, and I'm not saying that's the only reason why Zeke got involved, but there isn't that on his team. He's essentially competing with a 1-year rental in Rojo, who I like, by the way, but it's a 1-year rental. A former undrafted guy in Malik Davis, and that's pretty much it. Tony Pollard's your guy, but we know they're going to use multiple backs. So I think there is a direct route for Deuce Vaughn to be involved right now. We're talking about the running back position, by the way, y'all. We're not talking about wide receiver, where sometimes it can get tough, or cornerback, where that room is deep. We're talking about running back. We just watched a 7th-round pick help lead the team to the Super Bowl and was damn good in that game. That's all I'm saying. But what about his long-term impact? Long-term impact for the mighty Mike Deuce Vaughn. Long-term outlook, my apologies, not impact. I gave that a 4 stars. Between, like I said, his work ethic, the skill set he has, the way the league is now, the league is transitioning into using these type of satellite backs more and more and more. I think he's going to have a long career. I think we just sat there and watched Darren Sproles terrorize us for 15 years. A Danny Woodhead, who I think is still in the dang league, I'm not sure. Deion Lewis types. Like, there is a role for these little guys. Doesn't mean these guys are going to be stars. Now, you could argue Darren might have been, but it doesn't mean these guys are going to be workhorse starting backs. But this is why I call him a glue role player. One of those guys that can fit in any scheme. If he is able to return, it doesn't matter what team he's on, he can do some return things. A matchup problem against linebackers or safeties. Oh, and by the way, he can run the ball a little bit. So despite his size, I think the league favors these space type players more than ever. And I think he'll stick around. Whether it be, I think he'll be here in Dallas, but I'm speaking just long term in general, whether it be here with the Cowboys or with another team after he's done with the Cowboys. I think there is a role for him in this league for a long, long time. And it would not shock me if we are looking down the line and we're like, man, Deuce Vaughn still playing. Think that highly of this kid, man. So I got 4 stars for his long-term outlook, 5 stars for his value, 4 stars for his year 1 impact. Long-term outlook, Cowboys Nation. We're out with it. John gives it 4. TC gives it 5. Professor gives it 4.5. Shout out to Mighty Mouse Zach. I used to love watching him ball. 5 stars for the Guru. Yes, indeed. 5 for Loss. 3 for Desmond. 5 for Iceberg Slim. 3 for C. 3 for Big Sarge. 3, maybe 4 towards the playoffs. So that's my take here on our rating the draft. 1, Deuce Vaughn. I'm excited for him, man. I'm excited for him not only because of what he brings to the table as a individual, right? As an individual, but for what he can do for possibly this new looked offense. We're going to get back into some more West Coast things. I think you're going to see more screens. Thank the heavens. How many times did we come on here last year and we're sitting here like, man, this has been a good opportunity to run a screen. And you can say, oh, well, Scott, they can't run a screen. They can't execute. That's a coaching problem to me. If you can't get your offensive line and your linebackers and your quarterback and everything to match up here to properly run a basic screen, that is a coaching problem. It's probably because you ain't working on them. You know, when I see different coaches go to different places with different lines and different players, and they are able to execute screens like that, that's because it's embedded in their DNA. I think in the West Coast, the dump off, the screen, we talked about this a lot early on when we decided we were going to go more West Coast stuff. It's either check down, touchdown. So I think it's going to be more get the ball in space to the Tony Pollards, to the Rojo did it too in Tampa, but to the Deuce Vaughns. You'll see more flail routes, Texas routes, utilizing these guys out in space. A couple years ago, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I want to say, led the league or was top 3 in getting 5 guys in a route. That does not mean 5 wide receivers. Doesn't mean that. It just means that they use that back as an extra guy to get out in the route and create mismatches. And the Cowboys, if you're worried about him pass protecting, I ain't trying to pass protect him. I don't give a damn what film you want to show me. He is not a guy you want one-on-one blocking dudes. He's going to have to be an ankle biter. He's going to have to be a dude that is trying to take out your ankles, is essentially trying to cut you off for the most part. I would much rather utilize him as a chip guy, release, catch the ball out the backfield, or just get him out in the route right now and he'll be kind of your check down guy, your hot route, your hot read, whatever you want to call it. But there's no way. And you heard Mike McCarthy talk about, those will be the challenges we got to discuss and we'll figure that out. But I don't give a damn what play you want to show me in college. I am not man on man letting him just take on a linebacker or defensive end looping around, dude will get ran over. It's just physics, right? It's just physics. So I've seen Zeke get ran over, and Zeke's a big boy. So I'm not really trying to put him in a pass protecting situation. I'm actually trying to get him a chip real quick, get out, dump it off, or flat out go right now. You're my hot, and now let's get him in space and let's work. I just think there's so many distinct things, as Mike McCarthy said about Deuce, that you can do with him that gives him a role right now. He's not dealing with an uphill battle, in my opinion. He's not dealing with politics. He's not dealing with a tenured guy like an Ezekiel Elliott when it comes to, a running back tandem. Would not shock me if by the start of the season, they're in that room and they're looking at each other and they're saying, look, we can't ignore the skill set this guy brings. So we have to make sure he's part of our game planning week in, week out. Because again, we're talking about running back. It doesn't take long. It doesn't take long for me to see what this guy can bring to the table. Mr. Ronnie, good morning, good sir. How you doing?
Oh, good morning. God bless you and your show and your family and your boy Vosh and his family, like always.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, I just wanted to say that, he's going to be special because he led college all-purpose yards and the times that he was up in his doing his college thing. And also, too, when he gets against the linebackers are not going to be able to keep up with him in space. Like you said, he's short. That's like you trying to grab a mic. You know what I'm saying? When the corner, boom, boom.
He's trying to grab a mic. That's good. That's good. I say rabbit, right? You got that rabbit type quickness, but hey, I feel you.
Yeah, okay. And then also, too, I really think he's going to be special. As long as they use him, like you said, in the right way. But I understand why Mike McCarthy said about that, so that Randall Cow comparison, because the way he moves in the middle and when he catches the ball, he knows for his size, he knows how to use his space in the middle, and he knows how to work things. But that's all I got for now, and God bless you and the show and the family, like always, and keep up the good work.
Appreciate you, Mr. Ronnie. I got all you, right. Professor O. Go ahead, call in. I think I usually see your name up here. 240. You are live. What's good?
What's up, Scott? It's Clevo, man. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Talking about Deuce Vaughn, one of my favorite picks in this draft.
Me too, bro. Just wanted to call in and just agree with you on that, man. I think Deuce could be real helpful to the team this year, man. Just the style that he plays. I mean, that kind of guy, man. I think it's kind of hard not to find a way to get him in the offense, man. You know what I mean? So I think he's gonna be really helpful. And he can run between the tackles every once in a while, man. Get him in open space, man. Only thing I know he ran some routes like down the field routes, and I know a lot of time when they were talking about, I know not your favorite person, Kavontae Turpin. I know one of their downfalls, they were saying they didn't want to use him last year because Dak wouldn't be able to see him downfield. But I don't know if that was just an excuse. I used to hear that a lot.
Fans?
They said he was too small.
Nobody in the organization said that. I would imagine you mean like fans are talking like that.
Maybe sports talk people, but not really. I don't think fans. I don't really talk. It was on TV, so for sure, but I don't think it was fans.
That doesn't make any sense because it doesn't make any sense because Cole Beasley was a tiny dude that they used in the offense. So I just don't think
true.
that.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think Kellen Moore just knew how to get a guy like Turpin involved. That's all.
I think that's what it was too. I think that was more of an excuse. You know what I mean? When I was hearing, I thought it was more of some BS, just an excuse. But that's it, man. I ain't really had too much, man. Just want to thank you again, man. I always thank you every time, man. Because you and the rest of the content people, man, I don't even watch ESPN and FS1 and all that crap no more. I get all my info from y'all, man.
I appreciate that, big dog.
No problem, man. I appreciate you, man. Keep doing what you're doing, bro.
Salute. I mean, look.
All right.
You making the right decision. And I'm not saying that because I'm part of the community or whatever. I'm saying that because one of the reasons why I wanted to do what I decided to do, not just because I love to talk sports, and I knew once I stopped growing and being, Once I stopped thinking, okay, I'm not going to be a professional baller, a professional wrestler, or anything like that. I want to stick in sports. One of the main reasons why I decided to do this is because I'm like, man, what are they talking about on ESPN? What the hell are they talking about on Fox or whatever? They're not really talking about the Cowboys in the light that we should. So I stopped watching that stuff too, man. And I decided to just pick up the mic, pick up the pen first, and then the mic, and here we are, you know. And now our community, I said this yesterday on Twitter, I put it up against anybody. Against anybody. From whatever you want to do. Film, you want to do live shows, videos, short, I don't give a damn what it is. Put us up against anybody out there, we come out on top. Straight up. There you go. Hold up. Do I still got my drop, Professor O? Hold on, man. Let me see, man. I think I do. Not quite. Not quite. Let's do it one more time. This is it. No. We still don't got the drop. Professor O, what's good with you, big dog? I thought I had the drop ready for you, man, but it ain't really. It ain't dropping for me like I want. Here we go. My guy, Professor O, what's good, bro?
What's up, bro? Happy to be on with you. Shout out to you and the community. And like you said yesterday, I think the Cowboys content community is probably one of the best in the game because we have people that kind of can, show off their strengths in different angles. If you want somebody with the big personalities, we have that. If you want the film guys, we have that. If you want the stat guys, we have that. If you want the morning show, we have that. So, and we have it covered. I had a couple thoughts on Deuce Vaughn I wanted to share with you. So in the chat, shout out to our guy, Danny. You know, Danny, I think he needs some more coffee this morning, but he was like, Big 12 defenses, Big 12 doesn't play defense, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Deuce Vaughn, 2021 against LSU, SEC team.
Talk to
21 carries, 146 yards, 7.0 average, 3 touchdowns. How about 2022, Missouri, SEC school, 24 carries, 145 yards, 6.0 average, 2 touchdowns. How about Alabama, 22 carries, 133 yards, 6.0 average, 1 touchdown. So he was productive against 3 SEC schools the last 2 years. But I had an idea because you were talking about Deuce Vaughn and how defenses would try to stop them, right? And you said you probably are going to want to have him covered by a defensive back. The Cowboys, with one of their other draft additions that you talked about earlier, Luke Schoonmaker, can potentially dictate defenses not being able to do that, which I think is cool. Because one of the common themes you have when you're talking about the Cowboys running with Kellen Moore is they don't dribble with a purpose, right? Nope. You want to not just run the ball, you want to run with intent. So we could dictate potentially forcing defenses to cover Deuce Vaughn with a linebacker by playing 12 personnel. And that's something we already know that they want to do more. And the evidence behind that is when teams play 11 personnel, the defense is in base package 2.8% of the time. But when you're in 12 personnel, they're in base package 49.9% of the time, just under 50%. So I can make them go from 11 personnel to our base defense against 11 personnel to 12 personnel, significantly higher rate. So once I do that, I now have 2 or 3 or 4 linebackers, depending on how that defense is lined up situationally, versus 2 tight ends. So Ferguson versus a linebacker, Luke Schoonmaker versus a linebacker, or I now have Deuce Vaughn versus a linebacker. So I can take that extra defensive back off the field by having Deuce Vaughn and Schoonmaker both out there at the same time in 12 personnel, which is something we already know they want to do too.
Yeah, and the thing about it, and this lines up perfectly with what we were talking about earlier, if you still give him running back work, right? I'm not saying you got to give him 20 carries, 15 carries, but running back work, you legitimately don't know if he's out there in the single back formation in the 12 because they really can't. I mean, they can have TP and him out there, but usually you'll see in a single back 2 receivers, 2 tight ends. If he's out there, they have to now decide, okay, are they going to run? They got Schoonmaker out here. They got Ferguson out here. They can block out of this with these boys. They can play action out of this, or they can go empty. We've seen that. How many times did we see that last year where they'll come out in a formation with these tight ends, starting one way? Next thing you know, boom, the tight ends are spreading out wide. Now you got TP, or in this case, Deuce Vaughn motioning out the backfield, and Dak is like, okay, let me scan the field because he's one of the best pre-snap. Oh, we got one-on-one with who's a linebacker? Jalen Smith on Deuce Vaughn, one-on-one, easy money. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, excellent observation right there. Yeah.
Yeah, they can do the pre-snap with two tight ends, both on the same side of the field, and shift pre-snap to slide one of them into the slot, or both of them into the slot, shift out to empty. There's so much they can do, and if the defense counters saying, well, you have Deuce Vaughn on, we're going to play nickel, cool. We still have two tight ends, so we still have the size mismatch versus you. So we have the size advantage in our favor. Or if you play base, now we have the speed factor in our favor because we can shift him out and either have him one-on-one versus safety or one-on-one versus a linebacker, and either one of those works in our favor. So just a thought, and as we get into it, we can speak more about it. But I know that they want to play more 12 personnel anyways.
Yeah.
The Cowboys are more successful when they do that. You have Luke Schoonmaker for that reason. You also have Peyton Hendershot that you can slide out in the slot. So they can do a lot of different, they can attack the defense in a lot of different ways by doing that. So just want to call in, appreciate what you do. Shout out to you in the community. And I appreciate that you're rocking the Kansas State gray today since it's Deuce Vaughn Day. So
I had an actual gray shirt that I had and I was going to wear, but I said, I don't know. Let's see if this one will jive a little bit better. I like this one better though. Appreciate you, Professor O.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And shout out to Pick Six Sports too, man. Y'all do fantastic work over there.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir. Great observation by our guy, Professor O, with the numbers. It came with the I don't want to use the other term because we got a guy for that every Thursday. He'll be here starting next week. But with the numbers, man. That's why I want to get back to doing our Professor O obscure stat of the week. Guys, teams come out in base formation in 12 personnel, just under 50%, the defense. If you do that, and you got to do something. Or Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is definitely can take advantage of linebackers in the same frame. But we're just speaking specifically Deuce Vaughn. Man, you can get out there, see how this team or that team comes out, and go from there. Maybe you can do that 003 personnel set. 3 tight end. We're just going to 3 tight end. 3 tight end personnel set with the Deuce Vaughn or Tony Pollard. And when we come out and they're coming out in a heavy formation, now you got 2 guys who can get downfield from a tight end standpoint. You've got 1 wide receiver who can do the same thing, and you got a running back, be it TP or Deuce, who can take advantage of the linebacker. I go back, and we talked about this the other day against the Bears. The Cowboys came out, 3 tight end set. Hurry up offense, boom, 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 to take advantage of the Bears being in a heavy personnel set, having a ton of linebackers out there, and they can't run with the Hendershots, with the at that point in time the Schultz, the Ferguson, and we had a running back receiver, not a pure running back there, in CD Lamb. So when you hear McCarthy talk about, I've got a distinct vision of how I'm going to use him, I believe it. If this was Kellen, I'd be a lot more skeptical. I'd be a lot more skeptical. You can say, well, Sky, that's blind optimism. I'm here to tell you, maybe. Maybe it is. Maybe it is a bias to it. But when I listen to Mike McCarthy talking about, hey, man, I have a play sheet for my playmakers, I believe that. When I hear him say, hey, we got an idea about this, a vision for this player, Randall Cobb-ish, I believe it. Call me naive, but I believe it. Let's get Charlie Murphy. Not the Charlie Murphy, but our Charlie Murphy. What's good, Charlie?
What's up, man? How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man.
Hey, can you hear me good? I'm outside right now, so I don't know if it's windy or nothing for you right now.
Nah, I got you loud and clear.
Okay, cool. Yeah, man, I was just tuning in. I think that I'm fully comfortable with what our running back room looks like right now, regardless of everybody saying, like the possibility of bringing in Zeke or getting a power back. But I think that's Ronald Jones' job, and I think he's good at it. I think he's fresher than Zeke, so hang on. Let me go.
Get a delivery?
Hell yeah, I'm at work right now. My bad, bro.
Okay.
But yeah, man, I'm comfortable with our running back room, whether it's all 4 of them and then the undrafted free agent fullback. I don't know what they want to do with Malik Davis, but I just wanted to see, how comfortable are you with the running back room? I think Deuce is definitely going to be in it, but, how comfortable are you with it?
I think you have every aspect of a running back room that you want in there. It's just not full of big names, aside from Tony Pollard. But you've got power aspect, you've got quickness aspect, you've got dual threat ability, you've got, take it to the house, electricity. You've got it all in that room. You've got a guy who can kind of do a bunch of different things. It's all there. It's just not uber accomplished dudes aside of Tony Pollard. I think a level or number or percentage you want to put on it will be dictated on our scheme, honestly. Like, what are we going to do to make sure that these guys' talents are used the right way? Because if we are just going to be how we were under Kellen, I'd feel a little less excited, because I think you need more dudes. Although running back position, it doesn't take much. But if Mike Solari and Schottenheimer and McCarthy are going to marry the run game with the pass and the West Coast and things like that, I feel comfortable. I think they can go out there and play right now, and they can produce on the ground, in the air, whatever. It just doesn't have big names.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree. I think, honestly, we're ready to play the Eagles like yesterday, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not – only position I, have a little bit of question marks is obviously left guard. Same with you guys. And what happens if Tyron goes down?
Yeah.
Or worst case scenario, what happens if Tyron goes down and then Tyler goes down? You just never know with these things. And so,
Charlie, I don't
know what I
even
mean?
want to
It's like
think about that.
I know, but I'm saying, like, we count on Tyler to literally be the glue stick, and then we don't even think about Zach Martin, who's older in age and everything. You never know. So it's like, I feel like we have not set ourselves up offensive line-wise, like, oh, we have depth. I really just don't think that we have reliable depth. There's a difference between depth and reliable depth, and I just don't think we have it.
There's a difference between bodies and depth.
Yeah.
We got bodies.
No, 100%.
We don't know
I can
how
get
much
the
depth
fattest
we
dude
got.
that I work with and throw him out there. I can get the fattest dude I work with and put him in pads and throw him out there, and I won't feel good with it.
Don't do that, Charlie. Don't do that, man. But yeah, look, you technically can go out and play Tyron, Tyler, Zach, Terrence. All these damn T's, man. But you can go out there, play right now, probably get by, probably fine, honestly. But it's not about playing with that unit. It's about, can that unit last? I don't believe it can, because I don't believe in Tyron Smith lasting. So that's why I'm a little uneasy with it. So I'm with you.
No, yeah. Well, shoot, I feel you, man. You've been going for a while, so I'm not going to keep you too much longer, bro. But I tapped in the Vacha show yesterday, and I gave y'all some praise. So I want to make sure I gave you some praise today. I feel the same way, bro. So just know I got much love for y'all, man. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm proud of you, bro.
Appreciate you, Charlie. Means a lot,
right,
man.
Peace.
Salute. Jay, it's coming. Jay said, quote, I haven't felt this strong in forever, end quote, Tyron Smith. It's coming. He says it every year. Every year it gets dinged up. So I never fell for it anyway. I always pretty much stamped Tyron Smith. I'm going to say Tyron Smith, going to be out for about 3, 4, 5 games. Those games are creeping up now. It went from about 3 a year, 6, 11, a whole season. It's getting ridiculous at this point. So I'm not about to sit here and count on that. Ain't heard from Rick in a while. What you got for us, Rick?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Cowboy Nation? What I gotta say is this, man. I think Deuce Vaughn is going to be a good player for us. Depending on how to use him.
Mm-hmm.
I think both of these coaches, as far as Mike McCarthy and then the new guy, Solari, whatever his name is, the offensive coordinator. I think they know how to use gadget players a little bit, because you remember, I don't know if he was over there when he wasn't over there when Percy Harvin was over there, right?
Who, Solari?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so he wasn't there with Percy Harvin, but he was over there with Lockett. So they used Lockett in a lot of different ways too over there in Seattle. So my whole thing is like this, man. I'm not so much worried about the offensive line so much, because I really like the as far as the team, is because we still have a second free agency coming up. And the Cowboys, they know. I'm pretty sure they got a good idea what they want to do and the type of offensive lineman they want on this team. So I'm gonna trust on them a little bit, because they had a guy named Steele. You got a guy named Steele that they let develop over time. So I got a good confidence in the Cowboys. They pretty much know what they're doing as far as their offensive line. They could have drafted better as far as offensive line in the draft. They probably could have got somebody that everybody liked, but they didn't. So my thing is that the thing that I like about this team is like they're making it a tougher team. And then at the same time, too, we're not going to be doing that goofy shit that we was doing the last couple of years with Kellen Moore, when we running plays and we on another team's neck and they can't stop it. Then we just go switch off into some old dumb shit and do something totally different, and now the other team got a chance to come back on us. You know what I mean? That's the thing that I didn't like about Kellen Moore, is that he had some good plays, but he didn't use the plays that worked, that another team couldn't stop. And I think a lot of teams that a lot of offensive coordinators that don't know how to call plays in a certain time in the game to keep the momentum on their side instead of giving it to the other team, I think that we're going to do a better job of that this year. I don't think that once we get up on the team that we're going to take our foot off the gas pedal. I think we're still going to come at them and score and end the game out. And that's what I want to see. I want to see consistency. Then at the same time, too, I want to go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Scott.
That kind of contradicts what McCarthy said, though. He's not really interested in scoring a bunch of points. I know that sounds crazy. What the hell you mean? He's interested in winning games. So before you got to that part, it sounded like you were basically talking about situational football. And I think
situational football. That's what I mean.
Yeah, situational football in marriage with complementary football too.
Yeah.
I think that Mike McCarthy is going to be big in that. Now, he hadn't called plays in a while. I think that's why you see Schottenheimer is going to help him out with the game plan and whatnot. But I think you're going to see a difference in the maturation of the play calling. I don't know how I can explain it, but you saw the immaturity in one Kellen Moore. We talked about it with Professor O, dribbling with a purpose. And as you said, hey, this is working. We don't really see it for a while, or it's just kind of picking out a play and running with it. I think you'll see a more mature and dribbling with a purpose in regards to how McCarthy calls the plays. It may take a few games. It may take just preseason. We'll see. But it may result in less total points, but more efficiency in said points. And maybe you're closing out games better. Maybe there's less turnovers because you're not doing stupid stuff like dropping back to throw the ball after you just dropped back, got sacked because of your pass protection, right? Or you're not doing things like, hey, we're backed up at the 5-yard line. We're going shotgun with Josh Ball at right tackle, and next thing you know, interception. Or you're not doing things like, hey, 3rd and 10, maybe we should get them to use their last time out, but we're going to throw a deep ball on the outside. You know, I don't think that McCarthy is going to do a lot of those things on a consistent basis. I think he has matured as a head coach and understands, look, this is a defensive team. We want to feed off of that. We want to make sure we play to the tune of that and complement these dudes. And the best way to do it is not be a air it out kind of wild card offense. It's kind of have a purpose. And that purpose is to, establish the run, use play action, West Coast things, make things a little bit easier for your skill players.
And another thing I was thinking about this before I got on the phone with you. Another thing that I'm liking about this is because I really believe that Dak is not going to hold the ball long. I used to hate when Dak had to hold the ball too damn long to wait for somebody to get open. I like the fact that he's going to be getting the ball out of his hand faster. And that's what I really wanted to see with Dak Prescott. Let him get the ball out of his hand faster instead of him have to sit back there and wait for somebody to come open, and nobody comes open. Now he got to throw in the double coverage out here to goddamn Dalton Schultz dumbass. I used to hate that. Instead of dumping it off to Tony Pollard right there and let him run up the sideline. I used to hate that shit.
I think I'm indifferent with that. I think I know what you mean. There's times where we're obviously, because of the offense was more Air Coryell number system, where we were reading deep to short. You saw that. But then you go look at the time of release, and Dak was routinely in top 10, or at least he was, I think, last year. But a lot of that might have had to do because the offensive line just wasn't that great. But there's a gift and a curse to holding the ball a little bit tad longer to allow a guy to get open for a big play. But I think what we're going to see is there's just a more precision in our passing game concepts. Like, all right, here's a slant here. Here might be a dig here. There's a post here. There isn't no options. Right? When we saw Dak kind of be a bit hesitant, it's because Lamb or Noah or Gallup, are you crossing this safety or are you going behind him? And I'm already made up. You better make the right read. And next thing you know, boom, he's throwing into quote unquote double coverage, and now we got an interception. You won't see, I don't think, as many of those this year, Reek. And you may see him get the rock out faster from a slant standpoint or whatnot. But I don't know. I don't really have a problem with Dak's timing within the pocket. I had a problem with his timing matching up last year, at the very least, with our scheme and our skill players. I thought last year you didn't have the skill players to just be like, okay, we're going to see if Noah Brown gets open downfield. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But with Brandon Cooks, maybe it's not a bad idea to give it one more tick so he can, and now boom, I got Brandon Cooks and he's taking it, 50 yards.
Yeah, because I really believe that Dak Prescott is one of the best under center quarterbacks in the league. Far as the play action.
Yes. He
is surgical in play action, and that used to kill me. I used to be sitting at the TV yelling because I'm like, why is he in so much damn shotgun? Don't get me wrong, he has improved in the shotgun, but to keep him in shotgun damn near the whole game, that used to piss me off because I'm like, this dude is surgical under center, man. And he's like, oh man, and I hope that I really believe that's going to change up with this new regime coming in here, as far as the offensive coordinator. I don't think Dak is going to be in shotgun as much, long as the running game is working. That's my thing. But hey, that's yet to be seen, man. I'll holler at y'all later, man. Thanks for giving me a chance to give you a call, sir.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
let you later.
Appreciate you, Reek. And I'll say this about the shotgun. If you're going to stay in shotgun, right, or if you're going to do shotgun things, don't be so basic with it. The game that I go back to and I remember vividly and was annoyed with was the Cardinals game in 2021. First of all, Zeke was on a banged up knee. I don't like Zeke running out of shotgun. It's not his game. It hasn't been his game since he was at Ohio State. But they were so basic in what they did. They didn't do the things you saw Philly do. They didn't do the things you might have saw San Fran do or Baltimore do, or hell, even Washington was more complex in their scheme out of shotgun. Dallas was so damn basic out of that shotgun. If you're going to do that, and we've seen Schottenheimer do that with, who was it? Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson in Seattle. They did a lot of shotgun things, but there was movement married to it. There was the offensive line might have got a two pullers. Or it might be crashing down one way, play action come out another way, dump it off. Have a purpose with it. If you're going to do some shotgun stuff, I'm not naive. I totally get that it's 2023 and you're going to be in shotgun more often than not. So if you're going to do it, at least do it with some type of purpose. But if you're just going to do it based, then put Dak under center, man. Let him get some of that kind of zone, or not zone read, but play action stuff where you're getting some zone going one way, a guy coming the other way. Do that stuff with him. Any quarterback, honestly. If you're just going to be basic out of shotgun. That's what annoyed me about Kellen, specifically in that game. But that wasn't the only game he did that with. Where you saw him get creative, Philly in 2021 versus in week 3, Tampa week 1. But then you kind of saw that stuff kind of just fade by the wayside. For whatever reason. I don't know. We got Nacho up next. What's good, Nacho?
My man, Will, how you doing? Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Hey, listen, excited that you're sharing about Deuce. You know how sometimes you have a player or two, or maybe a pet cat, somebody that you want your team to draft, for example.
Yeah.
The way the draft was going, right? I was thinking, God, when are we going to go get that running back? And even though maybe Deuce may not be your, the top running back coming out of the draft, etc. What I liked about him is exactly what you have shared and what everybody else has kind of, had an input into it. Is he is one of my favorite draft picks of the draft, and I think he kind of made the draft. Okay, you know what? That gets me excited. The West Coast offense and the fact that McCarthy is sharing about how he might be utilizing him and so on. As a space player, I just think Deuce can be that dynamic for our offense. I have been yearning for a screen passing game in a run option type of offense that we haven't had in a very long time, and we've been horrible at screen passes, if you will. Now with Deuce, oh my, I mean, this could be.
Here's the thing about it. I don't even think it's just about having Deuce while the screen passes will be back. I think it'll be more about coaching. I don't think Kellen emphasized screens. I don't think he really, quite frankly, cared for them. Because if he did, I think you'd see them work on that more. You hardly ever hear them say, "Yeah, we're working on the screen game package today." Yada, yada. They'll come out flat out tell you, "Hey, today we're working on goal line. Today we're working on third down." And this is down at camp or whatnot. Today we're working on hurry up offense. You ain't never heard them say, "Yeah, today we're working on screens." You don't never see them down there saying, "Hey, we're working on this quick game package, et cetera, et cetera." I think the fact that McCarthy, who comes from a West Coast, who comes from the Bill Walsh's, the Schottenheimers, that whole scheme tree where they utilize the screen game. It's not Deuce. You had it with Tony Pollard. You just didn't use it. But now you got two of those dudes. So if TP's off the field, you got to worry about it with Deuce Vaughn. And to be fair, Ezekiel Elliott early in his career was an absolute monster with the screens. But as he got older and used more and his body kind of wore down a bit, he wasn't a guy I was trying to throw the ball to a lot.
He became more of a fullback kind of type, and he had that body. But no, to your point, yes, absolutely. And I just think it's exciting because whether he does a little bit of special teams, the kid can. I mean, I think of him as a little Mighty Mouse kind of he can run the ball. We can run the rock with him. I feel we can fake the run. He's out for a screen pass. And imagine him and Pollard in the back, not knowing who's going to run or go out.
So remember a couple years ago, I just talked about it with Tampa. When we ran 22 with Tony Pollard and Zeke, that was fun. That was cool because Zeke can run the ball. But it's going to be nightmarish when you see Deuce Vaughn and Tony Pollard in the backfield for linebackers or whomever it is trying to cover them, because you're going to get one of them to go in motion. Maybe both of them stay back, get a play action, and now you got a dual threat. You can throw it to either one of those dudes, and either one of those dudes can take it to the crib and make you miss early on in the play. That's a scary proposition for linebackers.
I'm excited. I'm going to leave you with this. Did you hear, was it yesterday I heard, that they are contemplating, obviously the mindset of Solari and the offensive coaching staff is thinking of putting the best 5 O-line. Did you hear about Steele potentially moving or trying him out at left guard?
Where you been at, Nacho? Where you been at, man? Look, Coach brought that up a couple months ago at the combine.
Or was it months ago?
Yeah, it was a while ago. They talked about that. He said, yeah, we're looking at him over there at guard. I believe it when I see it. Especially since we're out of the draft now, and they drafted, Awesome Richards and whatnot. So, I believe that part when I see it. When it comes to best five is Tyron Smith at right tackle. That's best 5.
That's what it should be, right? I mean, so hopefully move in the right direction. But at the end of the day, I think regardless, I think the point is that we drafted players that fit our system, players that they like and they coveted, and maybe these other top teams that had a higher grade drafted name players. Bottom line is I think it's exciting. I think we're going to have a good football team.
Oh yeah, even before the draft, you had a good one, man. You came out this draft, I think, better. Appreciate you, Nacho.
All right, my man. Have a good day.
You too, man. Let's be nice. T-Dub, I did not like our 2 back sets last year either. In fact, from a net gain, it was one of the worst sets. But trying to take shots at, I think there was 2 reasons. Your coach, your play caller, whatever you want to call it. And I don't think Ezekiel Elliott's the best guy to have in that situation. That's all. So I think it'll be better now if they decide to go a little bit more with the 2 back situation. In fact, it might not be Deuce and TP. You might see the fullback, used now back in this offense. We know Schottenheimer likes to use it. We know McCarthy likes to use it. So I think you'll see the fullback more so used. And now we get more of a traditional, 21 or 2 back system. 832. Stop, Professor. 832, what up? Oh, crazy. 832, you live.
Hey, Scott, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Hey, good morning. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. Hey, I like the conversation. And,
Yeah.
hey, there's more, this is kind of a tangent. I know we kind of got off on this because of Deuce. We're supposed to be talking about him and his impact and what he can do and whatnot. But
sure.
I did want to touch on a thing a couple of people have said about Dak and about, quote unquote protecting him. That's more of that mindset that we've got to change around here. There's more than one way to quote unquote protect Dak. A couple of people hit on that, having Dak get rid of the football more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the word you use, maturation. One of the things about Dak that I loved about him when he started, man, was that he had a good head on his shoulders. He always made good decisions, and he wasn't risk averse. But if he didn't see it, he didn't try it. And as he's gotten more confident and a better passer, and a lot of that had to do with again with Kellen Moore and how they wanted to play offense, he had to take some risks, and even so, he was doing that probably more than he should have. Not because he lacked talent, but because he was only as mature as the play caller, essentially. And with great players, or even good players, very good players, you need to rein some of that. I got to make every play in with them. You got to do that. I mean, just look at. I hate going to Patrick Mahomes. I know he's with the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes is one of one, but he's got a coach over there in Andy Reid that understands. Hey, look, I got a guy that if I really got to lean on him, I can.
Sure.
But Patrick Mahomes, if you look at it now, he's one of the guys that gets rid of the ball the quickest in the league. He's a guy that if you wanted to, if Andy Reid wanted to, he didn't have to have a play sheet. He could just give Patrick Mahomes the ball and say, hey, man, go out there and do your thing. But he doesn't. Patrick Mahomes gets rid of the football. There are times when he makes plays because he has to, but more often than not, Patrick Mahomes, 3-step drop ball is gone. 5-step drop ball is gone.
I mean, if we're talking about, great players, even Tom Brady, one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time, he had a specific system that their coaches leaned into what he did best. As he matured into a better passer and was able to do other things, even late in his career when he was the Tom Brady, he still did what he did best, and the coaches leaned on that. So yeah, man, coaching absolutely matters. And I don't want to get too far away from what you said to start this whole thing that I don't think is said enough, and not for me either. I don't say it enough because we focus on the particular individual at the one position we all want in, which is guard. But you said there are multiple ways to protect Dak Prescott. That is so real. And maybe that is one of the things that we're going to have to lean into a little bit more is the other ways to protect your quarterback, because not every team has 5 first-round picks, 5 Pro Bowlers across the line. Every team usually has some type of deficiency up front. Now, Dallas, what bugs me is that there may be a hole, but then there's the depth situation. Nonetheless, that is so well said that there are multiple ways to protect not just Dak, but your quarterback in general. Dallas may just have to lean into that a little bit more. So I don't want to get too far away from that.
No. That's exactly my thinking, and that the maturation of the coach and the coaching staff will assist in the maturation of the quarterback. And because again, Dak is not a dumb guy. I mean, every negative you can hear about Dak, you hear, and none of it is true, none of it is accurate. But until it looks different, people don't see anything.
All you have to do for those who's the whole he can't read a defense thing is wild to me, or he's not a smart is wild to me. Go listen to the defensive coordinators, listen to the players. They routinely say, "Hey man, we are up trying to." One second, we are up trying to confuse him pre and post snap, because pre snap, if you don't, it dice you up because he's seen it all. He knows where to go with the ball. He knows your defense. He's studying you. So we're trying to confuse him post snap. And there's games that happens. Hell, we confuse the great Tom Brady, but no one gives a damn. It's all Tom Brady is Tom Brady, right? But when Dak gets confused, it's man, he sucks. Well, no, sometimes the defense just gets the best of you, man. And I think that's what happened the last 2 years with San Fran. You got a team who has his number from a defensive standpoint. So that's where we're going to need, all right, coach, what counter can you get to help your quarterback? What counter can you get to help your receiver, your running back, your offensive line? We didn't have that counter from a coaching standpoint, and we didn't have it from a quarterback standpoint. I think that's why you ran into what you ran into the last 2 years. We didn't have an answer.
Yeah, exactly. And for me again, man, if you and kind of weave just a little bit back towards Deuce Vaughn and him being a guy that that you can have play multiple roles for you. Hey, look, man, they're starting to, and I don't want to get too far ahead of this because don't know yet, but they're starting to look a lot at the skill positions with the offensive players that they're getting. A little sort of like San Francisco looks. They got San Francisco got a lot of running backs playing wide receiver and a lot of wide receivers playing run. They've got interchangeability there. And, you don't know what they're going to do. And they kind of took that to another level when they got Christian McCaffrey. You got guys that are basically interchangeable. And I would love, and I know you're big on CeeDee Lamb, being more of an outside guy, but hey, man, CeeDee Lamb is a yak guy too. Get those guys the football in their hands as quickly as possible and let them do their thing. I would love to see. I don't care if a guy plays outside, inside. I think the league has gotten away from slotting guys beyond a certain point at a position, particularly skill guys. If you can do more than one thing,
I think it does matter though. I think it matters 100%. I'm not saying that you got to slot a guy in one spot all the time, but when it comes to dictating what you want a defense to do, I think it matters to have a X or a Y receiver that can dictate what that safety is going to do or dictate what that linebacker may do, because I just watched it all last year, brother. When CeeDee Lamb was in the slot, they didn't give a damn about Noah Brown. They didn't give a damn about Michael Gallup. So what did they do? Even in the slot where you got the whole field to work with, they just bracketed him. They'd sit a safety way over top. They put that cornerback playing trail, and hell, sometimes you saw the linebacker follow CeeDee Lamb, all because they didn't give a damn about the outside guy. The reason why I kind of want to see a little bit more CeeDee Lamb on the outside, especially with a Cooks here, or maybe Cooks can do it, is because now, all right, look, that's CeeDee Lamb out there. That's Brandon Cooks out there. So whoever's working underneath, be it the running back, be it the tight end, be it the slot, be it the other receiver, they're going to have a little bit more room to work with, because that safety and that corner have to worry about that guy on the outside. So that's why I want to see him be worked a little bit more on the outside this season, moving forward.
Yeah, no problem. I get you, man. Hey, I guess the moral of the story is, man, hey, it's nice to have options, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes. What I was going to say when you brought up San Fran was, bro, I would lose my mind if we became as creative. If we got as creative as them, I mean, look, I don't give a damn who your left guard is.
Yeah, you don't. That's been my point, man. There's more than one way to protect that. You can do a lot of things.
Now I know there's going to be players. There's going to be people in the chat that know this answer, but the normal NFL fan will not be able to tell you who the hell San Francisco's left guard was. Who was San Francisco's left guard?
San Francisco fans probably couldn't tell you that.
And that's what they give a damn. And that's what I was trying to say all last year. Was like, look, man, I get it. We don't have the Great Wall of Dallas anymore. But damn it, you don't need the Great Wall of Dallas. How about you scheme up some stuff? You got the skill players. You got enough guys up there to get this thing done. I digress. And of course, y'all were going to drop the name.
No, you're right on it. As usual, Scott, you're right on it, man. Hey, I'm not going to take any more of your time. Hey, thank you for taking my call. I'm excited, man. Hey, Deuce. Hey, turn Deuce loose. That's all I'm going to say. Turn him loose.
Deuce.
The Deuce is loose.
Hey, I know. Appreciate you, big dog. I know Deuce Vaughn's celebration is the ski mask. I'm throwing up the Deuce. If y'all don't know what the Deuce is, then y'all just don't know. You wasn't staying up late. BET, come on. 12 o'clock in the morning, you getting up. Pow, pow, pow. Deuce, South Central. Of course, Danny drops the name. The point is, your normal NFL fan doesn't know who the hell your left guard is for that team because they have a great scheme. That's the point, man. Nevertheless, Danny Savage, welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, Sky. Good morning, Bomb Squad. Professor O, I put something in the chat earlier. He just took it the wrong way. When I said the Big 12 don't play defense, I was just mentioning the betting lines on Saturday. If you look at the over-unders, they resemble some basketball scores, like triple digits. That's the only reason I was saying that about the Big 12 defense.
Okay.
So now I'm going to give you my pre-draft breakdown on Deuce Vaughn.
All right.
The prototypical West Coast back, absolutely. You want to get that kid out in space. You want to throw him the ball. You want to give him screens. 100%.
Yep.
He's that guy. 100%. He's that guy. But is he an every down kind of back? I'm like a both sides of the coin type of guy. Is he an every type of back? No. We have to use him to his strengths, avoid his weaknesses.
It's clear.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's pretty clear, right? That he's not going to be a workhorse back in the NFL. Not at that size.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope he pushes Turpin off the team because I think the kid does have a bright future as a kick returner, even a punt returner. You know what I'm trying to say? Because I looked at him pre-draft as a smaller McCaffrey, if that makes any sense. He's shifty. He's like the Swiss Army pocket knife. You can do a lot of things with him. I just critique a lot of people, but even when I called up a few weeks ago, right after the draft, I said he was one of my favorite picks of Dallas's draft.
Yeah, it's just didn't get DNA to not like something about something. So I get it. I get it, Daddy.
No,
anything the Cowboys do.
No, my problem is
Yeah.
my problem is I'm a value guy. So if I think like the guy you had on last week, which was awesome, he was like, I had a round 3 grade on that guy. He works for the Dallas Cowboys. I forgot his name. He was awesome. He was like, I had a round 4 grade. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. I'm like, but I love Deuce. He's
Well, Danny, if we're talking about value, you got him in the 6th round. That is extreme value for a guy that productive with that skill set, no?
That's extreme value with his skill set. But even pre-draft, I said I would have doubled down running back and I would have doubled down tight end just because the crazy value was there. You know what I'm trying to say? But listen, no, I have no problems with Deuce. I don't. I critique everybody, and that's just
you
me.
critique everything. Everything. Yeah.
If he's used right, he can be he can be nasty. You know what I'm trying to say? And wait, one person, and I'm out. I'm going to land the plane. One person said Dak holds on to the ball too long. They should look at some Romo tapes. Because that dude held on to the ball, I think, longest of any quarterback I've ever seen play in the NFL. So I personally don't think Dak holds on.
I don't either.
To the ball.
The one year he did that was in 2018. The first year without 2018. Yeah, the first year without not Zach Martin. Fred Beard.
Cooper.
No. Fred Beard. Frederick. The center. That was the first year.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We called him Fred Beard over on. But anyway, yeah, that was the first year without Frederick, and he got sacked like 50-something times. And he even talked about, hey, man, I kind of ran into some sacks. I was holding on. And he was young. I don't really look at Dak as a guy, he holds the ball so long. I think he's going through his progressions, which is another thing that is wild to me. Dak Prescott doesn't read. He quite literally goes through his progression, sometimes too fast. But I digress. Yeah, Tony was notorious because Tony was trying to make the big play. And he was in like the peak level of the Air Coryell, Ernie Zampese, Jason Garrett offense where you got to read, and here comes my dog. It must be thunderstorming out there. You got to read from top to bottom. Tony was always trying to make, please don't press that button. You got, 1 second, Joe. You got to read from top to bottom, and Tony was trying to make the big play.
Gotcha. Listen, great show as always. Looking forward to listening to you and Watch later on.
All right, man. I'm going to get my dog together. He about to turn off everything. All right, man. Appreciate you, Danny.
You got it, man.
Man, my dog, when it start raining or thunderstorming, he will find me throughout this house. I'll leave the studio, and he's right at the door. I love Mozart to death, y'all, by the way. But I call him my umbilical cord, baby. This guy is just attached to the hip. All right, let's get some super chats. Good stuff today. We kind of got through this very smoothly here. Come on, TC. Smoke 1-4. We got a decent amount today. Today's a 10. Yeah, we did. We got a whole lot, actually.
Super chat.
Shouts out to the super chats. I'm not sure if, and I'm gonna have to get L to drop all the other ones like the PayPal, Cash App, or whatnot. But if you do donate anything there as well, I will read whatever it is you donated there. But super chat is just so easy. I get it. Smoke 1-4. You said folks talk too much about Deuce. They love him. I'm guessing that's what you mean, Smoke 1.
Super chat.
B, not Bird, said, so Super Chat thinks someone who led football in all-purpose yards against people actually in the league won't make the team. That's cool. I think he's our mini CMC. That's what Danny was just talking about. Potential tiny Christian McCaffrey.
Super chat.
Joe SoCal dropped 5. Thank you. He said, I don't think Deuce will make the team. Defenders are bigger and faster today than ever before. He's just too small. I think he's making his team. I don't think your coach is saying this. Let me see here. What do you say?
Jerry and I were talking about this earlier. I think clearly, Deuce can play the normal flow of our offense first and second down. I think to state the obvious, as far as the protection component, we got to, work together there. But there's some very distinct situational thoughts and concepts that I have in mind already. Randall Cobb-ish type things I've done in the past. So, yeah, we'll definitely have, opportunities for him to take advantage of his productivity. I mean, he's a dynamic player.
It's your coach, man. We've seen small guys make it in this league. You quite literally have a dude who is not as diverse as Deuce Vaughn on this roster. His name is Kevontae Turpin. So if you're just saying it because of his size, how do you explain a guy like Kevontae Turpin who made a team, who can't run like Deuce, who doesn't have that vision, who can't catch like Deuce? I'd be shocked. I'd be flat out shocked if Deuce Vaughn does not make this team. He'd have to absolutely stink in camp and preseason.
Super chat.
Dallas Cowboys hard hitter said, drop 5, appreciate it. Said Deuce was productive all through his college career, so I know he'll be active for the Cowboys. Hashtag Deuce. Let's go.
Super chat.
Towboat Ty dropped 1. He said West Coast means more screenplays. Dump the ball to Vaughn behind these good tight ends. The Cowboys haven't been able to run a screen in years. I'm stoked. Yeah, we talked about that, right? Towboat Ty. They really, I don't think, emphasized it, cared for it. At least Kellen didn't. Sometimes I think he looked at it as a wasted play. I do. I think if I ask Kellen, what do you think about screens? Man, I'd rather get guys downfield. Or I'd rather do this or rather do that. I watched all the productive offenses last year, all season, and I'm just jealous. Like, man, look at that easy button play right there, screen to Dallas Goedert. Man, look at that easy button play screen to Kadarius Toney. Man, look at that easy screen, Joe Mixon. Just real annoying watching other teams operate the screen game and we bumbling, fumbling, stumbling all over ourselves.
Super chat.
Chris dropped 1. He said, Deuce is the type of player where if the Cowboys are struggling on offense, you can dump it off to him on the screen and he'll get you an easy 10 yards. Again, easy buttons. That's another thing we haven't really brought up here. It was a buzzword throughout the season, but you might see more of these easy buttons, be it a normal screen, tunnel screen. We talked about it with the Randall Cobb usage, the 11 personnel swing screen pass. Utilize him in space. Same thing with Tony Pollard. Same thing with the other caller. Talked about getting the ball to guys like Brandon Cooks, guys like CeeDee Lamb, dudes who can make things happen after the catch. Yeah. And then a couple more. Tobo Ty dropped another one.
Super chat.
He said it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. Facts. He destroyed TCU single-handedly last year and a number of other top 5 or Power 5 programs, SEC programs.
Super chat.
And then Smoke One dropped another one that said he was a 3-down back at K-State, man, built like a bulldog and can take a hit and more and more than any, he absorbs the hits and bounces off them. Deuce is tough and durable. I'm just saying. One of the things I put in my notes that I didn't even get a chance to read about in regards to his durability and his size and taking hits, much like Emmett, if you listen to Emmett talk, he understood how to avoid that big hit. I know he wears 22. I'm not comparing him to Emmett, but in that manner, he knows how to avoid that type of hit. Now he's gonna get his bell rung sometimes on those choice routes where he might run that choice and he hit that middle of the field and the linebacker is sitting right there. He's gonna get his bell rung. But when it comes to space, when it comes to finding the lanes and the vision and the quickness, and then once he gets to that second level, he has this ability to kind of ball up, protecting the rock, and not really take these massive hits on his body. Again, it comes down to he knows how to use his size to his advantage. And I believe that is it for the Super Chats today, Cowboys Nation. Good stuff today. We will continue covering Deuce Vaughn later on the Voss and Barty live show, so make sure y'all tune in for that. 3-ish Mafia. Come back through. Hit the like button if you enjoyed our RTD series. I'm not saying it's done because obviously I wanted to do I'm not going to do Eric Scott, not going to do Brooks. I'm just going to be flat out. I'm not going to do those two guys. But Awesome Richards, we broke down yesterday as well on Vacha's show. And Viliami Fehoko, a.k.a. Junior Fehoko, which, by the way, I saw apparently Viliami is William in their language. It's funny because when I was looking at it, I was like, man, I look like William a little bit. I don't know how true that is, but somebody said that. Nonetheless, I do want to cover those guys. Here's the thing, though. Next week we'll have a full weekend to talk about what happened at rookie minicamp. So I'm going to probably be too excited. I'm going to talk a lot about what happened at rookie minicamp. But I'll try to fit Fehoko and I'll fit Awesome Richards into our rating series because I do want to talk about them in depth. I think they've got something here and they could be a part of the future of this team. So yeah, that's kind of what we got coming up. Tomorrow, I want to do camp battles. Rookie mini camp battles. We did that last year. We talked about undrafted guys versus drafted guys, drafted guys versus drafted guys. And we'll see some year 2 dudes will be there. We see that every year. Guys who didn't quite get a chance to play much the previous season, they'll come up there and they'll partake in what's going on out there. So I'll try to get a guest on tomorrow. If not, we'll just break down a couple guys that I'm looking at in regards to matchups or verses, whatever you want to call it. All right. Then Friday, your boy out of here. Find me in Austin. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and press this button. Yes, D. We covered Tyler Bass earlier this week, last week. Can't remember which time. He was one of our undrafted free agent spotlight guys. So just kind of got to run that thing back if you can. Appreciate y'all, man. I will see y'all tomorrow. Actually, I'll see y'all later. Get out of here. Love y'all. Peace. Shout out to the Bomb Squad. Shout out to the Mod Squad as well. And the day ones. Y'all can't see it, but I got my day ones up. I am not off on Fridays, Chris. I'm just off this Friday. OG Bobby Johnson. Hey, OG Bobby Johnson. What you know about that, Danny?